On April 26, 2024, this was the last piece of art I finished. It would take me 319 more days from that date to create my next full artwork. Art block is something that everyone experiences, and it transcends any specific kind of expression. From authors to musicians, painters to developers, digital artists to fiber artists and beyond, at some point you feel like the indescribable quality of creativity escapes you. I personally have struggled with art block to varying degrees for a large part of my adult life. Sometimes it's just a couple of days, and there was one period where it lasted multiple years, but this most recent bout of block was the most frustrating for me. I felt I had reached a point in my skill and style that I was finally happy with, but I still couldn't muster the energy to continue making art. But I think that may have changed. I wanted to create a video about this last bump of art block I experienced and how I got over it, including my new creative philosophies that I've slowly developed over the last year or so to hopefully never fall back into it in the first place. So this year I'll be turning 30, which in social media terms means I'm dead. This new time frame that social media has seemed to create within our society where mid-20s or late 20s is the end of your creative expression just isn't true. There are so many creative people out there that didn't find their stride until much later in life. But it took me a long time to really realize that fact. Every single year that I didn't make it as an artist put more and more pressure on me, and that pressure never manifested into pushing me to create more. Instead, it created this bubble around me that was just filled with stress and was probably one of the biggest blocks that I experienced when trying to create. But what I found was one of the strongest counters to this kind of new idea we have of making it in your early 20s was an idea of slow living. Slow living is this philosophy that doesn't put as much value on the future, and not in some nihilistic way, but rather focuses on individual moments that you live in the present. And when you take that basic idea and bring it into the world of art, you find that you are appreciative and find solace in your moments creating. There's not some nebulous idea of being an artist off in the future that you have to work towards, when the process of creating art is more than enough reason to call yourself an artist in the first place. However, I do think it's important to note at this point, this doesn't mean you should just waste your time because the future doesn't matter or something. I think it's still important to have a concept of what you're working towards.
I have concepts of a plan.
But that concept or goal doesn't have to end up dragging you down moment to moment when you're really enjoying the process. So this point also touches on the world of social media that we kind of live in now. I want to make a point that there's nothing wrong with posting your art or posting the process of your art on social media. I do it myself as well as probably every artist in the world at this point. And in fact, I know I'm probably going to get some pushback on this, but I do think that posting your art, and especially the process of creating it and who the artist is one of the greatest weapons artists have against AI. But with all of that said, another big philosophy that I have come to follow in recent months is that I need to create art for me. There are countless videos that you find on TikTok or Instagram when you're scrolling talking about when to post to get the most followers. And I think this type of mentality of infinite growth is a big contributor, at least to me, for artistic block. In my personal experience, if you're constantly trying to meet these deadlines of posting and also in that process creating content to post, it creates so many roadblocks to the process of creating. There's nothing wrong with filming a time lapse, but if so much of my personal energy is put into creating things for social media, I find I'm drained by the time I'm actually wanting to create things that are for me. Don't let an algorithm decide for you when to post and what to create. Just create what you want to. I briefly mentioned this in the last section, but I firmly believe as artists, one of the greatest weapons we have against this rise of AI art is to post and create communities and show behind the scenes and show your growth online. I think I will definitely get artists that disagree with me on this point, and there's people that are trying to glaze their art or post their art in low resolution and stuff, and that's fine. You can do whatever you think is right to do. There's no truly right answer when we're trying to navigate this unfortunate space of AI that we're living in, since in my opinion it is a reality that we are forced to live in, instead of trying to find these small avenues that you can work in to somehow circumnavigate it that will eventually get bulldozed anyways in the future. I think it is much more important to create a community, a sense of community with other artists that you share the same vision with. This means connecting with artists in your local community, finding subreddits that you are interested in, discords. There's plenty of ways to try and connect with other artists. The one thing AI can never be is be human, so I think we have to use that inescapable fact to our greatest strength as artists. AI art is soulless, it's lazy, it's uninspired, but if we're honest with ourselves, the people that are fighting for AI art are not people that were probably appreciating real art in the first place. Let them have their corner of the internet. It's probably a very sad corner. Anyways, let's focus on the positive art community that we have. Creative expression really is the most human thing that we can do. It's good for your mental health. It's good for the community. Keep creating and keep supporting other artists that are creating. It's our best tool that we have. So this one's a little weird and kind of a little bit counterintuitive because it has both the idea of focusing in on a craft that speaks to you most, as well as spreading out to as many different ideas as you possibly can. So let me explain exactly what I mean. Since I've found my love for art again, I find that I am touching on mediums of art that I haven't really played with for some of them years. Things like polymer clay, game development. I'm obviously still very invested in digital art as that's my main medium. I plan on creating terrariums and jewelry this summer as well. So this is a wide array of creative output that I am trying to pursue. So it does sound like I'm completely unfocused in my goals, but there is a method to the madness. I feel like each of these parts fills a specific need in my brain to create. But obviously there are so many different avenues of creativity I could pursue as well. Things like painting or pottery that I definitely want to do at some point, but I feel like I don't have the creative mental bandwidth to pursue. So that doesn't mean I'm pushing them off forever, but I'm consciously making decisions on the mediums that I'm focusing on. And this is something that's going to be completely individual to you. You're going to have to explore and find your own personal creative pursuits and mediums that speak to you, and be honest with if you enjoy the process, if you enjoy the outcome. There's the unfortunate reality of if it's something you can afford, but take all of this stuff into consideration when you're trying to hone your skills and find a path that you want to pursue, at least for a little bit. So these are the creative philosophies that I have began to develop and reflect on over the past few months to year. They have all in different ways heavily contributed to my progress as an artist, and I don't feel like there's any creep of art block coming up. It doesn't mean that I'm completely consistent with creating art either. There are definitely days or weeks that go by where I don't create anything, but the point is that I always feel like creating. And I think that's the most important aspect when it comes to trying to convey yourself through art. Hopefully, the ideas with these philosophies are, for myself at least, that if I'm following them and understanding them, that when I sit down to draw, I have a wealth of inspiration to draw from. I hope if you're an artist, or even if you're not, you found some type of value in this video. If there's something I missed or you disagree with, or you have some philosophies that you want to talk about as well, feel free to leave them in the comments below. You can follow me on most places. I'm not on Twitter because fuck Elon Musk. But with all that said, I'm just going to say keep creating. It's for the good of yourself and everyone around you. Thanks for watching.